सखा तुम ही तो एक हमारे हो, शिक्षक तुम ही, रक्षक तुम ही, दिल के तुम ही सहारे हो। मिला सारे रिश्तों का प्यार तुमसे ओ बाबा, जुड़ गई है मन की तार तुमसे, शक्तियाँ मिल रही अपार तुमसे। से दूर तारों के गाँव तुम मुझे ले आए हो, कांटों से दूर फूलों की छाँव में मुझे बिठाए हो, किरणों की बाहों का तुमसे ओ बाबा, जुड़ गई है मन की तार तुमसे, शक्तियाँ मिल रही अपार तुमसे। भाग्य के द्वारे खुले हमको हमारे मिले, आए जीवन में बहार तुमसे ओ बाबा, जुड़ गई है मन की तार तुमसे, शक्तियाँ मिल रही अपार तुमसे, जुड़ गई है मन की तार तुमसे।
प्रभु पास आकर किरण में नहाकर, उन सा बने यादों में हम समा कर,
स्नेह से कल्प तरु का सिंचन करे, आए अनुभव करे। संपूर्ण पावन अपनी वो दुनिया स्वर्गिक सुहावन,
धरे रूप उतरे जो संपूर्ण पावन, अपनी वो दुनिया स्वर्गिक सुहावन।
अपने धरती गगन मंद पावन पवन, नाथ त्रिभुवन के हम लेते थे सुख सगन। आदि रूप आँखों में अभिनंदन करे, आए अनुभव करे, आत्मदर्शन करे, अपने पांचों स्वरूपों का चिंतन करे, आए अनुभव करे। देखे द्वापर में मंदिर में पूजा हुई, देखे द्वापर में मंदिर में पूजा हुई। पूज्य हम ही तो थे वो ना दूजा कोई।
वो कतारों में करबद्ध करते नमन, वो कतारों में करबद्ध करते नमन।
करते पूर्ण कामना भक्त वत्सल नयन, कितनी श्रद्धा से वो भक्ति पूजन करे, आए अनुभव करे, आत्मदर्शन करे, अपने पांचों स्वरूपों का चिंतन करे, आए अनुभव करे।
चलते चलते काल चक्र जो पूरा हुआ, चलते चलते काल चक्र जो पूरा हुआ। संगम में अपनों से संगम हुआ।
भाग्य द्वारे खुले हमको भगवन मिले, भाग्य द्वारे खुले हमको भगवन मिले। लग के प्रभु के गले भाग्य लिखने लगे, ब्रह्मवंशी ब्राह्मण ज्ञान गुंजन करे, आए अनुभव करे, आत्मदर्शन करे, अपने पांचों स्वरूपों का चिंतन करे, आए अनुभव करे। कर तपस्या विदेही फरिश्ता हुए, कर तपस्या विदेही फरिश्ता हुए। शक्ति भरते प्रभु सेवा करते हुए, करके पावन प्रकृति विश्व बदलेंगे हम, करके पावन प्रकृति विश्व बदलेंगे हम। आप सा बाबा बन तन से निकलेंगे हम। धुन है आपके कथन पे खुद को अर्पण करे, आए अनुभव करे, आत्मदर्शन करे, अपने पांचों स्वरूपों का चिंतन करे, आए अनुभव करे, आत्मदर्शन करे, अपने पांचों स्वरूपों का चिंतन करे, आए अनुभव करे, आए अनुभव करे।
and the sound. Om Shanti, good morning. Is the sound okay?
The sound is perfect. Thank you, Belinda.
Good morning, Brother Avinal. Is the sound okay?
The sound is perfect. Yes, it is.
Let me just check if my sound is on mute because I'm not hearing anything. No, I'm not on.
We can hear you perfectly.
We can hear you.
Brother Avinal. Can anyone else hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Belinda, we
Sound is perfect,
Sound is
Belinda.
all
perfect.
hear you,
Good.
Belinda.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. So lovely to be back with the Sunday class, and thank you, Brother Avinal, for beautiful selection of songs. They were lovely, weren't they? Mm. So I'll just get the Murli. Our topic today, Baba is taking up the subject of churning. And I think we all know that it's a very important topic. And Baba equates it to, food. Food is important for us, but food is important only because the body converts it to blood. And so the body is then able to function properly. So food is a very essential part of human existence. And so we can see the value that Baba puts on churning, that in the same way, it is the nutrition of this Brahman life. I think it was last week that Baba was talking about those who just know the knowledge intellectually, and those who have the knowledge in their hearts. And Baba emphasized how important it is to actually allow this knowledge to reach the heart. And when it touches our hearts, then when we speak the knowledge, it touches the hearts of others. And Baba also spoke about how it gives power. And it's as if Baba is continuing that subject, because he said that knowledge is also a battle weapon. This is the term he uses, that knowledge is a battle weapon. And so we know that a battle weapon has to be taken care of. Otherwise, when you want to use it, it doesn't function properly. So you have to value that weapon, first of all, for what it can do. And then you will look after it. And we know that knowledge, the subject of knowledge, is actually the first subject. And it's a very important subject, but we have 4 subjects. We have knowledge, yoga, dharana, and service. And they're all interconnected. And we know that knowledge also feeds the quality of our yoga. And the third subject, which I just want to take up briefly this morning, is dharana. And dharana is what reveals the truth. Without dharana, our knowledge is just like any other knowledge. It can be intellectual, and there are a lot of people in the world today that have a lot of knowledge. But when we churn that knowledge, we actually turn it into power. We turn it into gold, because when we have that dharana, we become the sample that others see. And that is the greatest service, not the words we speak. People watch our lives, they watch our language, they watch how we interact. When something goes wrong, they watch our reaction to it. And this is where dharana shows up in our lives. And it is absolutely a vital subject in Raj Yoga, because that dharana becomes the seva. Whether we are giving the course or involved in some practical service, or we are just living our lives with our families, with our colleagues at work, it is the dharana that reveals the truth, and ultimately will reveal the Father as well. It will not be just the words that we speak. And so we see the importance of churning, because it is churning that Baba says allows us to take Baba's knowledge and make it our own. And that is so important, because we know that we can't do this spiritual journey for anyone else. You know, we share knowledge with each other, but ultimately it's what we do with that knowledge that is valuable. And Baba talks about the value. You know, churning means we are giving value to this knowledge, because the value emerges at the time of need. And we all know that, you know, when life is quite smooth, it's easy to be stable and to be a good yogi. But it is when drama provokes us in some way, pardon me, and that can happen very often when the ego is triggered. So some pain, some discomfort, some sorrow we take, or we get irritated, or we might even get angry. That is the moment, as they say, when the rubber hits the road. And that is when we will be able to know if we have truly churned this knowledge, because it will be there for us at that time of need. So let us listen to this powerful Murli this morning on this subject of churning. So today is the last day of May. Can't quite believe it. And the original date of this Murli is the 10th of January, 1988. And the title of the Murli, The Method for Churning and the Way to Increase Churning Power. So today Baba is going to give us a recipe, step by step, how to increase churning power. So the method for churning and the way to increase churning power. Today, the Jewel Merchant Father, take note of the title Baba's using for himself, the Jewel Merchant Father has come to meet his invaluable jewels, to see how many jewels of knowledge every elevated soul has accumulated. That is, how many jewels of knowledge you have instilled in your practical life. Baba gets straight to the point. Each and every jewel of knowledge is more valuable than multi-millions. So, just think how many jewels of knowledge you have received from the beginning until now. The Jewel Merchant Father has filled the apron of the intellect of every child with many jewels. He has given all the children jewels of knowledge equally and at the same time. However, now Baba comes to the business. However, the more you use these jewels of knowledge for yourself and for others, the more these jewels continue to increase. Bab Dada was seeing that although the Father has given equally to all the children, some children have increased their jewels, whereas others have not. Some are full, overflowing. Some have unlimited treasures. Some are using them appropriately according to the time. Some are using them for a task and are increasing them multi-million-fold from one. So that's the one type. And now Baba comes to the second type. Some are unable to use these jewels for a task as much as they should. This is why they are unable to understand the value of the jewels as much as they should. Your intellects have imbibed what you have received, but you are unable to experience the attainment of happiness, joy, power, peace, and a stage free from obstacles that you should have by using them. So this is an important line. I'm going to repeat it. Baba says, your intellects have imbibed what you have received. So intellect has taken it in. But you are unable to experience the attainment of happiness, joy, power, peace, and a stage free from obstacles that you should have by using them. The reason for this is a lack of churning power, because to churn it means to put it into your life, to imbibe it. So not just the intellect, but fully imbibe it. Not to churn means that just your intellect imbibes it. The former use these for every task and in every action of their life, whether it is for the self or for others. The latter simply remember these with their intellects, that is, they imbibe them. So good opportunity to check ourselves. For instance, when you keep a physical treasure in your safe or locker and don't use it at the appropriate time or all the time, You don't experience happiness, but you just have the reassurance in your heart that you have that treasure. Now, this is the case today. The banks are full of people's safe boxes because they cannot use their valuable items. It's too risky. So Baba is giving a very good example for us as well. Neither will it increase, nor will you have an experience. In the same way, if your intellect has just imbibed the jewels of knowledge, if you just remember them and repeat them, saying that the point is very good, then for a short time, you have good intoxication of that good point. However, you have to put these jewels of knowledge into your practical lives and into every action, because knowledge is not only jewels, but knowledge is enlightenment, and knowledge is also power. So important. Knowledge is also power. If you don't use them with this method in practice, neither do they increase, nor is there any experience. So experience here would be seeing how knowledge helps us in a tricky situation or helps others. Knowledge is a study, but it is also an elevated battle weapon. This is the value of knowledge. To know their value means to use them for a task. And the more you use them for a task, the more you continue to experience power. For instance, when you don't use a weapon at the right time, then that weapon becomes useless. That is, it no longer has that much value. Knowledge is also a weapon. But if at the time of becoming a conqueror of Maya, you don't use the weapon, you reduce its value because you didn't take its benefit. So Baba's giving the example of a weapon. You know, if a weapon is rusty or it hasn't been used or it hasn't been cleaned, then when you need it, it won't work. So same thing with knowledge. You didn't take its benefit. To take the benefit of something means to keep its value. You all have jewels of knowledge because you all have a right, but you are number-wise in being full. You were told that the main reason is a lack of churning power. Churning power is the basis of experiencing the Father's treasures to be your own. Good point, I'll repeat. Churning power is the basis, the foundation of experiencing the Father's treasures to be your own. When digested, physical food becomes blood because food is separate. When it is digested, it becomes your own in the form of blood. A very powerful analogy Baba's giving us here. In the same way, with churning power, you experience the Father's treasures to be your own. You experience them as a right and as your treasure. Previously too, Bab Dada had been saying that only when you grind your own ingredients will you feel that intoxication. And the reason is that our intellects all work differently. So we have to digest it in our own way. That is, by using the Father's treasures with your churning power, you experience attainment and your intoxication rises. At the time of listening to Baba, you have intoxication. But why is it not there all the time? The reason is that you have not made them your own with churning power. Churning power means to go to the bottom of the ocean, to be introverted and go into the depth of every jewel of knowledge. Beautiful definition. You mustn't just repeat them, but ask yourself, okay, now Baba's giving us the recipe, 4 points we have to check. So you mustn't just repeat them, but ask yourself, the first point, what the significance is of every point. Step number 1. Step number 2 and 3, at what time and with what method must you use every point? And number 4, with what method must you use every point for the service of others? So keep in mind these 4 points. The first one, what the significance is of every point. Second and third, at what time and with what method must you use every point? And fourth, with what method must you use every point for the service of others? So, listen to every point and think about these 4 things. Along with churning, also go into the sweetness of its significance. Become lost in the experience of intoxication. Use these when the different obstacles of Maya occur, or when you have different problems of nature. Ask yourself, according to the situation or according to the obstacle, whatever points you churned, will those jewels of knowledge make you, or can they make you, a conqueror of Maya? Good checking point. Did that happen practically? So not just the theory of it, but in that situation, did it happen? That is, did you become a conqueror of Maya? Or is it that you thought that you would become a conqueror of Maya, but you had to labor instead, or your time was wasted? This proves that the method was not accurate, and that was why you didn't experience success. You also need the method and practice to use these things. Similarly, scientists create very powerful bombs. They believe that they will definitely be victorious with those. However, if the person using those bombs doesn't know how to use them, then what happens? Papa says, then even though they are powerful bombs, if they just fall here and there, they would be wasted. What was the reason? The method of using them was not accurate. Another very powerful example. You know, bombs can be extraordinarily powerful or absolutely useless. What was the reason? Sorry, I repeat. In this way, every jewel of knowledge is extremely valuable. Situations and obstacles cannot continue when you have the jewels of knowledge and the power of knowledge. However, if you don't experience victory, then understand that you don't know the method to use them accurately. Secondly, by not constantly having the practice of churning, when you suddenly try to use them at a time of need, you are deceived. You have the carelessness that you have the knowledge in your intellect anyway, and that you will use it at the right time. However, you need to practice constantly and practice over a long period of time. Otherwise, what title will those who just think about these things receive? Baba says, a Kumbhakarna. What carelessness did he have? He only thought, let them come and I will then be victorious. So the carelessness to think that it will happen when it is time deceives you. Therefore, continue to increase churning power every day. So you know Kumbhakarna, he was the sleeping giant. So they tried to wake him when the battle was happening and did not have any success. So good analogy for what Baba is sharing in this paragraph. Whether it is the revised course, that is the Sakar Murlis, or the Avyakt Murli you hear every day, in order to increase churning power, let your intellect imbibe one special point every day and practice with the method of the 4 steps that Baba told you about. While moving along, while performing every action, whether it is for yourself or an action for service, let there be churning throughout the day. Whether you are in business or you go to the office or whether you serve at a center, whenever your intellect is a little free, repeatedly increase the practice of churning. Some work is such that while you are doing that work, you can also think about these things at the same time. So sometimes we can multitask. If it's some mundane task like washing the dishes or driving even, there's an opportunity. It is for a little time that you have to do work in which your intellect has to pay full attention. Otherwise, your intellect can continue to work on both things. If you fix such time in your timetable, you can find a lot of time in between. It isn't that you have to find special time to use churning power. You can do it even while walking and moving around. If you have some time in solitude, that is very good. Go into the depths of the clarification of every point. Go into its expansion, and you will enjoy yourself very much. But first of all, stabilize yourself in the intoxication of that point. Then you won't get bored. So where there's happiness, there cannot be boredom. Otherwise, you just repeat the points and you then say, this is now done. What should I do now? When you spin the discus of self-realization, some of you make Baba laugh. What should we think about? Our cycle finishes within 5 minutes. They don't know how to experience that stage, and so they simply repeat the knowledge. The golden, silver, copper, and iron ages. So many births, this lifespan, this much time, that's it. And then it is over. So Baba is showing us how we do it superficially. However, to become Swadash and Chakradhari means to experience a knowledgeful and powerful stage. Now, practice using every point to remain stable in the intoxication of that point and become one who knows of the significance of that point of knowledge. This was an aspect of the discus of self-realization that the Father spoke about. In the same way, churn each and every point of knowledge, and every now and then practice having an experience. It should not be that you just sit there for half an hour simply churning it. Whenever you have time, let your intellect have the practice of churning. When your intellect remains busy with churning power, you will automatically and easily become a conqueror of Maya. This is the power of knowledge. When Maya sees that you are busy, she automatically steps away. If Maya comes and you then have to battle to chase her away, and there is sometimes victory and sometimes defeat, that is the effort of the crawling stage. It's like the warrior, always struggling. Now is the time to make intense effort. It is the time to fly. Therefore, keep your intellect busy with churning power. Through this churning power, stay absorbed in the power of remembrance. Another important point, through this churning power, stay absorbed in the power of remembrance. You will easily have that experience. Churning makes you a conqueror of Maya and frees you from all waste thoughts. Churning makes you a conqueror of Maya and frees you from all waste thoughts. Where there is no waste and there are no obstacles, you automatically have a powerful stage, the stage of remaining lost in love. Baba comes back to the heart. Some of you think that you have very little of the seed stage or the stage of powerful remembrance, or that you have an experience only after paying a lot of attention. You were told the reason for this last time too, that there's some leakage. The power of your intellect goes to waste. Sometimes you will have waste thoughts, and at other times you will have ordinary thoughts. To keep your intellect busy with the work that you are doing is known as having ordinary thoughts. At that time, you don't have the power of remembrance or the churning power that is needed, and you satisfy yourself by saying, "Today I didn't commit any sin. There hasn't been any wastage, and I didn't cause anyone sorrow." However, did you have powerful thoughts, a powerful stage, and powerful remembrance? If you didn't have these, that is called ordinary thoughts. You performed actions, but karma and yoga were not together. You became one who performs actions, but not one who is a karma yogi. So, while performing actions, let there always be the experience of either churning power or the power of being lost in that stage. Both these powers are the basis of doing powerful service. Now Baba's connecting it with service. Because those who churn have that practice, they are able to create whatever stage they want, whenever they want. By having a link, the leakage will end, and whatever experience you want, whether it is of the seed stage or the angelic stage, you will easily be able to experience whatever stage you want. When you have the knowledge in your awareness, then by remembering knowledge, you automatically remember the bestower of that knowledge. So, do you understand how you have to churn? You were told that Baba would tell you about churning at some point. So today, Baba has told you the way to churn. The basis of constantly being victorious over the obstacles of Maya and constantly experiencing success in service is churning power. Do you understand? Samjha? Acha? To all the knowledgeable children of the ocean of knowledge, to the elevated souls who constantly become conquerors of Maya easily with the power of churning, to those who increase their practice of churning power and who experience the stage of being lost in love, to those who always know the value of the jewels of knowledge, to those who use the power of knowledge in every action, to the special, invaluable jewels who constantly remain stable in an elevated stage. Bapdada's love, remembrance, and namaste. So Baba is a great teacher in so many different ways, and he knows how to help the children to pass with honor. Any good teacher will know what the method is, how to help the child pass with honor. And now Baba is meeting a group. Do you experience yourselves to be souls who are intense effort makers? Time is moving ahead at a very fast speed. As time is moving forward, with what speed should those who are going to reach their destination on time move? There is little time and a lot to be attained. So, if you want to attain a lot in a short time, you have to do it quickly. You are seeing the time and you also know the speed of your efforts. So, if time is moving fast and your speed is not fast, then time, that is the creation, is faster than you, the creator. It is a good thing for the creation to be faster than the creator. Is it a good thing for the creation to be faster than the creator? The creator should be ahead of the creation. It is now the time to become constant, intense, effort-making souls and move forward. If, whilst moving forward, you stop to see sightseeings, then those who stop don't reach their destination on time. Any attraction of Maya is a sightseeing. How would those who stop at sightseeings be able to reach their destination? Therefore, always be intense effort makers and continue to move forward. Don't think that you will reach your destination anyway, because there is still some time left. So that's Maya's language, delay. If you move at a slow speed, thinking in this way, you will be deceived at that time. The sanskar of making intense effort over a long period of time will give you the experience of intense effort in the final moments. So, always be intense effort makers. Do not sometimes be intense and sometimes weak. Do not become weak when something trivial happens. In that case, you would not be called an intense effort maker. An intense effort maker never stops, but flies. So become flying birds and continue to experience the flying stage. Give cooperation to others and continue to make them into intense effort makers. The more you serve others, the more your zeal and enthusiasm will continue to increase. And then at the time of farewell, Daddy Janki taking leave from Bab Dada before going abroad. So this is 1988. There is very good zeal and enthusiasm for service in this land and abroad. Where there is zeal and enthusiasm, there is success. Always pay attention that firstly, you always have zeal and enthusiasm, and that also, the power of the gathering. Beautiful. Power of the gathering, so important. When you have the power of love and the power of cooperation, you achieve success according to that. This is the field. When the field is good, the fruit it gives is according to that. However, if you temporarily make the field good and sow seeds in that, you will receive fruit for a short time. You won't then receive fruit for all time. So, before receiving the fruit of success, always check the field. However, whatever each one of you does, you accumulate that anyway. You receive happiness now, and you will have that in the future anyway. Acha. And the blessing. May you be constantly victorious with the awareness of 3 expressions. May you be constantly victorious with the awareness of 3 expressions. To break, to mold, and to forge. That is connect. To break, to mold, and to forge. The essence of the whole study and teachings are in these 3 expressions. Number 1, karmic bondages have to be broken. Number 2, your sanskars and nature have to be molded. Your sanskars and nature have to be molded. Number 3, you have to forge all relationships with the One Father. These 3 expressions will make you completely victorious. For this, always have the awareness. Whatever perishable things I see with these eyes have already perished. Even while seeing these, continue to see your new relationships and the new world, and you will never be defeated. Very powerful blessing, definitely worth our while to revise this blessing, because it is in this that we get distracted and Maya comes. And so we have to keep the vision on the future and also what will take us to the future and what will delay us in getting there. Slogan for today: the sign of a yogi is that he or she is always clean and clear. The sign of a yogi is that he or she is always clean and clear. Om Shanti. So let us pause for a moment. Pause to come back, check that we are in soul consciousness, and to take a moment of reflection. Thank you. So, our opportunity to share some thoughts. If you'd like to unmute and share what you're taking with you today. Some newness, something to make those efforts more intense, which doesn't mean more labor, but what is going to make it easier for us.
Om Shanti Belinda, if I may. Can I be heard? Hello?
Most welcome to unmute.
Hi, can I go ahead, Belinda?
I must apologize. I just realized why I wasn't able to hear you. My speaker was still plugged in. So did someone actually share?
Yes, I did, Belinda. I was saying that I'm going to write, break, mold, and forge, and put it up on a on a sheet of paper and put it next to my laptop in my office, so that because it's such, it's such an excellent follow through from churning, and just as a practice, it's just such a powerful reflection every day to keep thinking about breaking, molding, and forging. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Sharda. Lovely. Apologies for the lack of sound. Anyone else?
Om Shanti, Sister Belinda.
Om Shanti, good morning.
What I was looking at, Baba was saying with the churning power, remain absorbed in the power of remembrance. So it's like not that we churn in isolation and just leave it there. We take it into our yoga and remembrance and use it there. And by doing that, we will have an experience. And then we can use this with our relationships with others and also in service. So to use our churning power to actually have that deep experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamla-Ben. Yes, one of the key points today. Otherwise, it's just in the intellect, isn't it? Thank you. Anyone else?
Om Shanti, Belinda Ben. I wanted to say that anything that we understand and we understand well, we should be able to articulate it in such a way that whoever's hearing us will be able to also understand. And until we are able to fully understand, then it's easy to share. But until then, churning is required. And it's probably a good way to just write and see what is it that we understand, or bounce it off someone to see if they understand what we understand. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Brother Avinav. It reminds me of Mike George's, what he says, how do you know what you know unless you hear what you have to say? I've always liked that expression of his. So yeah, I mean, sharing knowledge is really such a good way that we can check ourselves, you know. Sometimes we think it's clear in the head, but when it comes out, it's not so clear. So churning power is so, so valuable. Thank you. Anyone else?
Om Shanti. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Jyoti Ben.
What I took today, 2 points. The first one is this journey of transformation is nothing but using Baba's knowledge into practice and experience the attainments and become like him. Once you have that experience, and not only Baba's love, my love emerges for him, and that get merged into his love, and we automatically become like him. But that only comes when I use that knowledge into practice and experience that. And that's the key point for me. The second one, Baba always starts, he's seeing us as invaluable jewels, elevated souls. Every Murli Baba sees us, ourselves as so elevated. And I just practicing to live those elevated version of myself, what Baba's seeing is, that actually brings so much power, and the intoxication allows me to practice Baba's knowledge and to use it in regularly and to become who I am, whose Baba is seeing me. And that's so much love emerges. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Jyoti Ben. Yes, to see ourselves as Baba sees us. This is, it's our journey, isn't it? To see, to have that elevated vision for ourselves. Shall we hear from Doritubai? Anyone else? Maybe he's not there.
Om Shanti, I'm here.
Oh, thank you.
I
Good morning, bye.
don't have anything in particular to share in addition to what has been shared. But I love this summary of what break, mold, and forge. I think that is so concise and such a good thing to practice. Om Shanti.
Thank you. Yes. Anyone else? Okay. So we can have some yoga now. And just a question for Brother Avinav. Are you going to play the Murli churnings for today?
I can. If you want me to, I can. I didn't put it in the set, but I can do that. It's not a problem.
Okay, so shall we have a song first? And then that would be very nice if you could play that.
All right. Thank you.
So let's sit in Baba's remembrance, and then we can listen to that churning. Om Shanti.
Before the body, before the story, before the name, beyond the mind's attempt to find or explain, before the breath, beyond the sense of pleasure or of pain, the heart, the whole and part of everything I see. Behind the eyes, beyond the skies, reflecting me. At the silent core, and yet before a phenomenon began. Oh, and after it, I am. Oh, many differences separate us on the surface, yes. But I cannot find a boundary in consciousness. And when you ask me, where does awareness begin and does it end? I have to say, I've always been within the body, without the body, not subject to changing moods or states of health, points of view, without needs, before the deeds and the monuments of man. Oh, and after that, I am. Oh, many differences separate us on the surface, yeah. But I cannot find a boundary in consciousness. Oh. And when you ask me, where does awareness begin and does it end? I have to say, I've always been at the silent core, and yet before phenomena began. Oh, and after it, I
Om Shanti, Belinda Ben.
Om Shanti, brother.
I can't seem to find the experiment for today. They only have a listening option, but no reading option for the Murli experiments. So I'm unable to find it today. I'm so sorry about this.
Oh, no problem. Perhaps we can find it ourselves at some point. But in any case, this Murli, as with all the Avyakt Murlis, is really worth studying. So good opportunity for us to practice what Baba has told us today. So thank you very much, and to everyone, and to Brother Abhinav for hosting, and have a very powerful Sunday, and take care of yourselves. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you so much, Belinda.
Om Shanti Belinda.
Om Shanti. Bye bye. Have a good Sunday.
Om Shanti, everyone.
Om Shanti, everyone.
Om Shanti. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Belinda Ben.